Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again on GB News Originals. In a world of deliberately and malevolently stoked division, always watch out for any moment when politicians of all stripes get in lockstep with one another. There's nothing more telling in this world of confected illusion, when the world is apparently on fire on account of all the cares in the world, than supposedly mortal enemies among the political class suddenly and conveniently finding common ground. Common ground, mark you, that just happens to further shorten the leash around our necks. And surprise, surprise, the cross-party unity that's forming now is crystallising right on cue around digital ID. Who'd have thunk it? Well, me for one, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Divisive, infuriating, terrifying chaos all around. And what is the bright light kindled to attract the moths? Moths bound for destruction in the heat of that light. What is the digital solution to all our woes? Why, of course, what else but the comfort of the cage? While the United States of America and Europe seem to be parting ways, with President Donald Trump lambasting the Euro weenies about the suicide note that is net zero, and while Europe keeps pushing for ever more war with Russia, what tune are our monkeys dancing to? Why, the tune from the organ grinder they all listen to. I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Those terrifying words. Here to help themselves, that is, to everything we ever had or ever will. While the fires of race war, religious war and ideological war are stoked, fuel piled and ready to burn, the suits are all agreed we need locking up for our own safety. I've no idea how it was decided who would call for a Palestinian state and who wouldn't, who got dealt which cards from their rigged deck, but it's worth pointing out it's happening after Gaza has been turned to rubble. It's worth pointing out that it hardly matters to the people living there, or rather, not living there anymore. Talk of a Palestinian state now, when there's next to nothing in the material place, is, I say, just another lever to pull, another card to play to make all sides furious with all other sides. Proposing a state in that rubble would be like if you came home and your mum said, "Your dog's dead, but you can still keep it if you want. How about giving it a new name?"
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
But back to digital ID, the gift that keeps on taking. I have some questions. Do you want the likes of Tony Blair knowing what you plan to spend your hard-earned money on? Do you want the likes of Ed Davey, who remains uncertain about which sexual apparatus grows on which genders, deciding if your publicly stated views qualify you to put fuel in your car? Do you want the likes of William Hague, remember the fun we had with him, contemplating your recent carbon footprint and deciding if you can buy a plane ticket? Do you want the likes of Keir Starmer within a gazillion miles of you for any reason whatever? And look at the timing. Just when so many are on their knees across the West, battered and beaten by the so-called pandemic, the economic ruination it ushered in, the transfer of billions it facilitated from the have-nots straight into the pockets of the already haves, the impossible cost of living, taxed to a bloodless husk, terrified or enraged, or a combination of both by uncontrolled immigration and all that that means for Indigenous people and cultures, threatened with war, up to and including nuclear war. One of my friends reminds me always to take into account that we have had inflicted upon us the most egregious, the most sophisticated, the most cruel, the most unrelenting campaign of psyops and brainwashing in human history. People smell the petrol rising around their knees, or is it around their necks, and it smells like fear or defeat. Fine and right to be fearful of the petrol, but more important, more life-saving and civilization-saving by far to pay attention to those holding the fuel hoses, their fingers holding open the release valves to ensure the flood of the flammable. I no longer even claim to know when that campaign of psyops and brainwashing got underway. Maybe it was only in 2020, but maybe it was in the 1960s with turn on, tune in, drop out and all that defeatist jazz. Or maybe it all began with World War Part II or with World War Part I. I don't claim to know for certain, but what I do know is that all those contributory factors helped raise a world herd so browbeaten and traumatised it long since lost track of which way is up. But it's right now, when people are frankly exhausted, punch-drunk, bone-weary, that the puppeticians suddenly find something to agree on. Something they proclaim as only for our good, the solution to all our woes. It's right now when approval ratings for so-called leaders across the West are literally in the toilet, in the negative, way below zero. It's right now when the people have made it abundantly clear they want less than nothing to do with their so-called leaders, seem to my eyes at least to be making one last grab for a world in which we can't even be rid of them. Digital ID. Digital VD, more like. Accepting digital ID now would be like, oh, I don't know, like a prescription for midazolam for someone already struggling to breathe on account of a chest infection. William Hague, Tony Blair, Ed Davey, Keir Starmer. When a bunch of that calibre appears at the door, arm in arm with a bright idea, I know one thing and one thing only. Whatever they're selling, I don't want it. And by the way, have you heard anything in a suit branded with a political party badge speaking loudly, clearly and comprehensively against the locking of the digital cage with the digital key that is digital ID? Do let me know if you have, because for me, the silence is deafening. So, what do we know? For one, we know that it's never about what they say it's about. I say the restrictions and mandates of the COVID debacle were not about public health, but about seizing control. I say the spraying of free money was not about saving the economy, but about destroying it while enriching the already rich. I say tax is not about paying for infrastructure and keeping the wheels on the bus, but about ensuring we have no money. Censorship and control of the media and the internet have nothing, I say, to do with protecting children or anyone else, and everything to do with the determination to silence dissent by the one world government types and assorted totalitarians who long ago lost the argument and the control of the narrative. I say net zero and Agenda 2030 have nothing to do with saving the planet and everything to do with reducing the human population and leaving what remains of it in a state of neo-feudalism. And I say digital ID has nothing whatever to do with solving immigration, cutting crime and making the streets safer to walk down, but that it's everything about a final solution to the otherwise intractable problem of pesky humans finding ways to live independent lives as far as they can, literally and metaphorically, from anything to do with the state. Digital ID is about ending freedom, ending choice, ending everything that has added up to what it means to be human and alive in a world free of tyranny. I don't say non-compliance will be easy, far from it. I think it will be deeply uncomfortable and fraught with difficulties. But, as the most famous casualty of the 1960s once said, we do not do these things because they are easy. We do these things because they are hard. Finding ways to stay free, will be all about people, fellow humans, making and maintaining before it's too late connections with those of like mind who can come together for mutual survival. And not just survival, but for enrichment of the soul. Digital ID is nothing less than the antithesis of humanity and being human. It's about slavery. It's about contempt for the people by a self-proclaimed elite. This is the hill, not to die on, but upon which to celebrate and perpetuate life itself. If you've enjoyed this content, don't forget to click and subscribe, and if you haven't already done so, go to the App Store and download the GB News app.
GB News isn't just a channel, it's a family.
And now you can be a part of it. Join our membership for exclusive content and to be part of the conversation.
We're building something different together.
So join us today.
Because your voice deserves to be heard. Become a GB News member today.
Visit gbnews.com/support or scan the QR code on screen now. Thank you.